Good morning, everybody. It is an early morning. I got up at 6:15 this morning. I wanted to get out to this BLM land as early as possible. As you can see, the sun has not come up yet. When I walked out the door of the VRBO, man, it was windy. I could hear the trees blowing. I'm like, maybe not. So I went back inside. And then a couple minutes later, I thought, you know what? Just get out there. You never know. Things could change. Maybe it's not as bad as we think. So I get out here and I get set up. And look at that windsock. Nice and steady wind. Doesn't look too bad at all. So it is cold though. You know, that 30, I think it's 40 degrees. So we hit the 40 mark. So anyway, my only issue here is I've got some power lines, some big dogs in the distance. I feel pretty confident I can get up in the air and then turn and go around them and go do my thing somewhere else. But this is really the flattest area I could find for launching from. So we'll see how she goes. All right. I have to say I was pretty successful on this trip with getting proper camera footage. My 360 camera, my GoPro, my phone, my drone, all of them worked flawlessly throughout this entire trip up until this day. And this is one of those moments I would have loved. I would have given up 30% of the footage I got on this trip just to have this one moment recorded, because this is one of the most successful and creative launches I've ever had to do. So I had my 360 camera set up on my trailer so I could capture the setup and the layout of my wing. I kind of talked through what I had to deal with. If you look in the photo here, you can see a barbed wire fence on the other side of my trailer. The winds unfortunately put me in a position where I had to get the glider in the air pointed at that barbed wire fence. And then my plan was to turn the glider and take off. Well, now we have problem number 2, is these power lines. I had 2 options here. One, I thought I could get the glider up in the air, get my feet off the ground, and then turn, get away from the power lines, and then start building altitude. The other option was these power lines were pretty high off the ground. You can tell. I know perspective is off. It's a little bit skewed from the camera. But I knew there was enough room for my glider to be all the way inflated and for me to actually go underneath the power lines. Now, how much room, I wasn't really sure, but I was very confident that I could actually get under the lines if I needed to. My thought was I could always walk it under, basically get the wing up in the air, kite it, and then just kind of work my way underneath and then take off from there. Everything was kind of up in the air. I wanted to see how the inflation went, turning the glider, and then going from there. So I spent the last 10 minutes talking to my 360 camera, thinking it was recording, and the battery's dead. That thing, I tell you what, the battery life seems to be getting less and less, and I really haven't had it that long. So anyway, this is where I'm at. Some middle of the field out on this BLM land. I had to come down. My hands were just getting cold, and I didn't want to go back to my LZ. That was a pretty cool launch. Hopefully that got filmed. Basically, I was needing to take off. The winds were putting me toward a sign and a barbed wire fence. So, and then they had some huge power lines. So my initial plan was to get up in the air and then turn away from the power lines. My second plan B option was to go under the power lines, which they were really high power lines. So as I'm watching the wind, I'm like, okay, I kited it up, got it up. So then I just kind of floated for a second, and then I turned it away from the barbed wire fence and the sign and started to accelerate, got up in the air and just kept it hovering on the ground and went right under the power lines. It's stuff like that that shows you your skills are getting better. When you can do a maneuver like that on takeoff, where it's not just, okay, steady wind, accelerate, and just go up in the air. During training, that's all it was. Don't touch the brakes or let off the brakes and then just let your glider go up and up and up. This was a situation where I actually had to make some maneuvers on the ground and just slightly off the ground in order to successfully make that launch. So that's pretty cool. But anyway, I didn't want to go back and do that again to warm my hands up. So I just found this pretty cool open grassy field in the middle of nowhere, and I'm going to take off. So the problem is there's no wind. I thought I'd have a nice headwind, so I came in this way, and my landing was, first of all, Let me show you. I have all this grassy area to land, and there's these little divots in the ground. But let's switch over here. Of course, as I'm coming down, this is the biggest thing. This is the thing that I end up just about to land on. So I had to accelerate a little bit to get over it, and then I came down. So it all worked out okay, but not the most graceful situation. So anyway, I have a feeling I'm going to be running pretty good for this launch, since I've got no wind. So I got my glider set up for 0 wind launches, which I'm so used to from where I typically fly from, my front yard. So I think it's going to go well though. I've got plenty of room. Look up ahead here. I've got plenty of room for running. I might have to hop over a couple of these. I don't know what these are, if they're for irrigation or if they've just kind of formed over time from the water, but they seem pretty structured. So, okay, hands are warmed up. I'm gonna get in the air. Unfortunately, I won't have much video of the rest of this flight because of my damn 360 camera. So, you get the idea. Look around the area. Just pretty cool. This is where I would love to get. I'll switch. That's where I want to get. Go fly in the snow-capped mountains. I'm sure it's not very cold up there. So I might get to this ridge line. We'll see. I'm down to, what's my fuel looking at? Like 6 liters. So I've only used a couple liters of gas so far. That's not bad. So let's get up and play some more. I have to admit, this was one of the more intimidating flights I have been on. Conditions near the ground were ideal. They were perfect, honestly. Little to no wind at all. But as I got higher and higher up, the conditions got gustier and gustier. But I just wanted to get up to that eye level with the base of those snow-capped mountains. It was such a gorgeous area up there. Just to see that in the distance and then the beautiful 360-degree views, I couldn't not do it, especially being in this area. What was amazing to me is how much land is out here. Hundreds and hundreds of acres of BLM land. I mean, you could spend weeks and weeks out here and never even come close to exploring the entire area. Definitely a place I want to come back to at some point. What a awesome morning. To believe I almost didn't fly today. Like I said, I stepped outside my little house I rented, and I'm like, I could hear the wind blowing through the trees. I'm like, went back in, come back, and I'm just like, get out to the LZ and see if it's worthwhile. And I got out here, and the winds were actually heavier when I started. Look at them now. Now they're down. It's probably like a 3-mile-an-hour wind. I had so much fun cruising around. Unfortunately, that damn 360 camera, but I took a couple photos with my phone. It was a little nerve-wracking because it was getting gusty up toward the mountains, toward the range there. And but I pulled my phone out, and I didn't have my phone tether because I didn't think I would be taking my phone out because I had my 360 camera. So I pulled it out real slow, and I'm just taking a couple shots, a couple videos, but it was gorgeous up there. Gorgeous to see those snow-capped mountains, just at my level or just a little higher than me. So what an amazing flight. I got back, I tooled all over, got a bunch of waves from the campers. People out in this area seem to really like what they see when they see that thing flying around. So very, very cool. Man, I'm debating honestly flying some more because conditions are so good. But I gotta check out of my place by 11, and I really want to get the Surround out and cruise around this area. It looks like a lot of fun. So got the most out of this morning. I will tell you, when I landed in the middle of the BLM land, I had to run so long. I've never had to run so long to get off the ground. Like I'm literally running, and I didn't feel much lift at all, and I'm pulling brake, I'm looking up at the wing like, what the hell's going on here? And then finally it just started to lift. I could not believe how long it took to get off the ground. I couldn't believe I was able to run that long. I had to jump a couple of those little divots. Crazy, 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 crazy. So it's amazing what a little bit of headwind will do for you, especially at this altitude. So good thing to know. I'm gonna soak up the scenery a little bit. Yeah, then I'll take the Saran out and cruise around. Wow, that was an awesome ride on the Saran. I've got to be out of my place by 11, and it's 10 o'clock now, so I'm gonna head back there, get cleaned up, get repacked up, and I think I'm gonna come back out here and play some more because wow, is that a good time. I captured some pretty good video and then I ran out of battery for the drone. I tell you, batteries are the issue, right? My tires are so coated in mud right now, so they're flapping all that mud off right now. But anyway, wow, I got hot too. That was a workout. I used about half of my battery. I think I'm at like 48% right now. So I won't have a lot of time, maybe another 40 minutes or so of playtime. But the area that I was riding back near where I parked my truck was really cool. Just a lot of ups and downs and fast turns and some single track. And so anyway, wow, that was fun. It's interesting the contrast between flying and that. Flying, you're just sitting in a seat and you know, you've got your inputs and you weight shift and all that kind of stuff, but it's really not that difficult to fly. It's more mental than anything. Wow, riding that Saran through those single tracks and ups and downs, that was a workout. So let me get back to the house, get cleaned up, and then we'll head back here and hang out for a little bit. Okay, I just got back to the house. I plugged the Saran in to my system. I'll probably get 5-10% charge in this hour, but it'll be worth it just to add a little bit extra. I've got about 35 minutes or so. Basically, I've got the trailer unloaded. I'm gonna have to pull the motorcycle in first, of course. That's usually that's how the process works. So yeah, let me go inside, kind of get things squared up, go from there. Okay, we are packed up and leaving this place. You know, I was a little unsure about renting a place, but it actually did work out pretty nice. I was able to get some video uploaded, got a little work done, taking a real shower, got cleaned up, had a normal dinner last night. And as close as I am to that BLM land, it's ideal. So this is something I might consider down the road if I come back to this area. It's a nice private area. It's connected to their house, but I didn't have any issues with the owners. Oh, I did jump in the shower again this morning. I got a little bit of the gray back out of my beard. I've got an interesting facial hair. It grows in brown, like the color of my hair, red. For some reason I have red hair growing in my beard. And then now that I'm getting a little bit older, we get some gray in there. So every so often I'll throw one of those little treatments that is supposed to take the gray out, kind of even out the color. So not too bad, looks pretty good. Anyway, I'm going to work my way back to that BLM land. If it's too busy, I probably won't ride because my bike is quiet, for one thing, and it's a lot of hills and it's hard to tell where people would be at. But if it's pretty dead, we're gonna go play. So then we're gonna hit the road to Denver and meet up with my buddy Ryan tomorrow. We haven't flown since training, so it's gonna be pretty awesome. It's gonna be cold once again, but hey, we're men, we can handle it. All right, let's go have some fun. Okay, we are back at the BLM land. There's a couple cars here. I don't even hear any bikes, and this place is so vast. This is the part I want to play in, basically, in this vicinity, so I think it's going to work out pretty good. Man, I would love to come out here and spend a couple days and just explore. Pretty cool area. Wow, that was some intense riding. That was some hard riding though. I mean, uphills, jumps, basically full throttle the majority of the time. This area, God, this is where I think if I had more time, I would just spend a couple days here. Check out this. This view is just amazing. Those white caps in the distance, that's where I was flying this morning. So, as you can see, it's a pretty cool place. Yeah, I'm debating just buzzing down the road, just kind of seeing what campsites are like in this area. There does seem to be some decent amount of campers, but it's still very minimal considering the size of this place. I'm guessing if you had a Jeep or something, you could just drive back in and camp out as well, but not if you're towing a trailer. Not this kind of trailer anyway. Anyway, wow. Wow. I'm running out of words to describe what I'm seeing and what I'm experiencing. I'm using all of these amazing, incredible, magnificent, wow. None of them have any true authenticity when it comes to what this experience actually is. No words maybe is better than. I have to say the beauty out here this time of the year is gorgeous. The trees are turning this bright yellow, and you contrast that with the blue sky and the clouds and then the white cap mountains. It's just gorgeous. Wow. I've never driven on this route. The farthest I've driven is from Denver up to Breckenridge, into the ski slope area. I've never driven I-70 coming from the west through the Rocky Mountains to Denver. So this is like a brand new experience, and I have to say it's incredible. Hey, what's going on, guys? We are in Frederick, Colorado, and I came out here especially to meet up with my buddy Ryan, who I did training with. It's been almost 2 years, and this is the first time I've seen him, first time I've seen his motor, his setup, his flying location. So he's gonna give me a tour of the area. It's a frigid 32 degrees.
Last time I checked.
32, right at the freezing point. So coldest weather I've flown in. Not for Ryan though, he's a diehard, so he's not worried about this. But let me introduce him.
What's up?
There's the guy right there. So, how many hours you got in so far?
Only 55.
55. Hey, that's not bad though in this area, right?
Yeah, it's tough.
Yeah.
Winter's tough as well. We're about to find out.
Thank you. All right, let's take a look at his cool setup over here.
Standard Parajet Maverick. Side-mounted reserve. Hopefully never needed.
Yeah, hasn't been moved. That's a good sign.
Yeah. And what I'm trying out today is I recently pulled off, there's a GoPro head mount. I took that apart and zip tied it up here. So we're going to see if we can get some cool, I don't know what you would call that view, behind the head view.
Yeah.
Let's see.
Yeah, that's a cool perspective. Yeah, he did this awesome rack here, and then he put some plywood on top and then like a rubber coating so it kind of grips it a little bit. Pretty cool setup. Okay, I don't know how much filming I'm gonna get during this flight. I might try to set up a camera on the trailer so we can at least get our takeoff, but we'll see. We'll see what we run into. Cool. All right, let's try to get in the air. Well, we survived the frigid temperatures just barely. Wow, was that cold. I got back in my truck, and even though my hands had kind of warmed up a little bit, they were so achy, so I turned on my heated steering wheel, and I just squeezed on that wheel just to try to get that heat deeper down into the bones. The flight was amazing, though. The scenery, the mountains in the background, we saw some hot air balloons toward the end of the flight. Hanging out with Ryan was really cool. Him and I did our training together at Aviator. So that's how I know him, is through paramotoring. And, you know, of course, going through the training together, we both learned how to kite at the same time. We both had the motor on our backs on the same day. All of the experiences of the training over the 2-week period, I shared with this guy. So we've been friends ever since, and we chit-chat and talk. And we got a lot of other things in common too, but to be able to fly with him almost 2 years later, and both to successful launches, both safe flights, and we cruised around and we were able to talk on comms, that was just really awesome. I really appreciate Ryan for getting up early, suffering that cold with me. I feel bad for him. My hands were hurting, but he's got, I can't remember what it's called, but it's where his hands turn basically white when they get cold, and that'll be even in temps up to mid-40s. And so he landed and his hands were so numb and they were like shaking, and took him a lot longer to get acclimated back to the comfortable temperature again. So anyway, I appreciate that, Ryan. Hopefully you had a good time too. Ryan is like the ideal aviator student. He's very meticulous with the checks, the safety checks. His motor is so clean. His motor is older than mine. It's his original machine, 55 hours, something like that he said he had. And my motor is, as some of you know, I've replaced that. So I've got the electric start, or the dual start. And my motor's only got 40 some hours on it. His motor looks way nicer than mine. That's how good he is about keeping up on his equipment. So anyway, it's good to fly with people like that, because it's a good reminder of how how important it is to follow those steps that we learned. So I appreciate that, Ryan. Although I don't appreciate you making me look bad with your motor looking so glistening and every part of it was shiny and yeah. Anyway, so I've been trying to talk Ryan into moving out to the Tennessee area for a while. He's brought it up a few times, and now he's actually committing to a flight out to North Carolina in a couple weeks to go check out the area. We're going to meet up with another guy who flies paramotor. Neither of us have met him, but we kind of watched him through YouTube and got to know him a little bit. So I'm going to meet him over there in a few weeks, and he's going to explore the area. And yeah, so hopefully he's going to make that move, because although Colorado is beautiful this time of year, he brought up a good point that the summer, the wildfires in California just swoop. There's like this haze over the city. You don't even get to see the views. And of course, with all the politics going on in Colorado, I don't blame him for wanting to get out of there. So anyway, time to warm up. Got a long drive ahead of me, about 20 hours total to get back home. Last night before bed, I slept in the truck again, and I just sat and looked around, and I thought, okay, how will I change things next time? And I've got some great ideas. I can't wait to walk you through some of those and start implementing some of them, and then working on my next trip, which I'm not sure what that's going to be yet. Some of the instructors, Stephen and Nicole, they live up on the East Coast. I've talked about getting up there and maybe seeing some of that amazing land up there. They've got some of the BDR trails for the dirt biking, and then of course flying up there. That might be kind of a cool trip too. So we'll see. There's a lot going on, a lot of opportunity out there. I saw this meme the other day that I will post here, and this is like the perfect way to end the trip, by seeing something like this. It's a reminder of how important our time and our existence is. So let's get going on this drive. I'm going to try to tackle about 10 hours today. Pull over to a truck stop or something, rest for the night, and then finish the drive hopefully tomorrow. Hey, what's going on, everybody? Time to do a little bit of an update. I've been driving and I decided to spend the night at someplace just outside of Kansas City last night, and I pulled into a nice parking lot. This truck is so awesome. I just throw my shades up, and I've got my little mini home in here. Crawl into bed, slept really good last night. I was telling a few people that every time I sleep in here, I get more and more comfortable. This is like a second home for me now. So anyway, just some contemplation of this trip. I've been listening to some of the videos that I recorded, just some of my thoughts. And I tell you what, I'm so happy I took the time to record a lot of that. Not just record the adventure and the experience, but what was going through my head at the time. It seems like the older I get, I start to lose recollection of like current things that there's a few things I've looked at and I thought, wow, I forgot I even did that. It's so cool to see it again and just kind of keep that memory fresh. That's the whole idea of recording all of this. I want to maintain a mental record of that experience because it was very cool. Not only was it, I've been out west before. I've done multiple trips in my life, a lot of solo travel. What made that one very special was the paramotor experience, because that's the first time I've really gotten out of my comfort zone and flown in areas that up until now I was a little bit nervous about. It's one thing to fly in familiar territory where I know where the LZs are, the LZ options are. I know what the winds are. They're a little more predictable. The weather's more predictable. To get out into an area where that wasn't the case, that was pretty cool. And I want to remember that. Also, that experience, I have to say, that is the most memorable trip because I went to places that were just off the beaten path, and having so much solitude was just really good for me. I feel outside of being a little bit tired after driving as long as I have, I'm hoping to be home probably within about 5 hours. I've been stuck in traffic here for the last half hour, but whatever. Normally I'd be a little perturbed about it, but hey, I've had this amazing experience. I can suffer in traffic for a little bit, no big deal. But anyway, I'm kind of excited to go home. It's like what I was hoping to get out of this experience was just a break, like a mental break from everything. And halfway through, I was kind of like, do I really want to go back? Like, am I ready? And now I feel empowered, like ready to get back, dive into some of these work projects, dive into some personal things I want to get squared up, planning new trips, meeting up with friends. Man, Travis, unfortunately, he's hitting the road now for a week. So I get back, and then in a couple of days, he's gone for a week. So we're going to have a pretty big gap in flying time. So we're going to definitely have to make up for that. But anyway, I do want to give some insight into my travel vehicle. This truck has been awesome. Such an awesome vehicle to travel in. Like I said before, it's very comfortable. It's easy. It's got some of the technology that makes driving a little bit easier. The bed worked out great. It's got lots of room. Yeah, very reliable. I didn't have any issues with it. It's quiet when I'd start it up in the morning. Even if there were people around, other campers, it wasn't noisy and bothering people. Insulated very well for sound and, of course, weather. So overall, awesome truck. I think I will be, if I was to upgrade, I will get a duplicate of this truck, just a newer model, probably the hybrid version. So everything else ran great, besides the little paramotor issue where my starter went out. The motorcycle, I had a little issue with that. I had to take it in. That was a few hour break in adventure, but it got fixed. And man, the experience after that, wow, I can't imagine if I wouldn't have taken that time to get that bike fixed. I would have missed out on that amazing ride up into the canyon and up that gravel road. I mean, that was a huge part of this trip. So anyway, it's easy to just get caught back into life again, and I want to try to minimize that. I remember there were a few flights Travis and I went on, and a couple times we were up in the clouds, and it's such an amazing experience. And then you get back on the ground, you pack up the paramotor, I see text messages and emails from work, and I'm like, as soon as I email a couple people back and I respond to my office staff, it's like I'm right back into real world again. And it's like all that amazement is now in the past, and it just sucks. It sucks when it's so short-lived. And I want to try to find a way for that process to be slower. Exiting something amazing and transitioning to real life, unfortunately, I want that process to be slower. So there's been a couple times where I actually disconnect from my phone. So I go flying, and on the whole drive home, it's an hour drive home, I won't even check my phone because I don't want that disconnect yet. And then when I get home, I want to just sit and I want to absorb the experience. I don't know why memory loss, and I'm not talking, like a medical issue, just standard memory loss. I don't know why that happens as we get older. I'm thinking it's just our brain gets flooded. It's just flooded with so much information. I don't know. But it gets to the point where there's certain memories you don't want to lose, right? There's certain memories that you want to hold on to because it's awesome. And man, if I could recollect some of the things that I've experienced in life, like it was boom, right there at the top of my head, you could go to your happy place all the time. But sometimes it's hard to bring that back. So having a video series like this and recording it and talking through some things and just seeing the expression on my face and watching the experience helps me remember it at that level. So I really want to start doing this more for these big events, big things that happen in my life. Even just going for a flight up in the clouds. That's just one of those. I so wish I had those experiences recorded, and then my reaction after. And I remember that time Travis and I were up flying in the clouds, and he made the comment that, like, we were giggling, like we were so happy and excited. We were giggling like schoolgirls because it was just amazing. Like that experience of diving into a cloud and just disappearing and then popping out the other side, and seeing that interaction between him and I doing that, and it was just unreal. But I don't have any record of that, you know? There's just slivers of, I remember it being cool. I kind of remember the visual effect, what we went through. So anyway, I encourage you, even if you don't want to do a vlog, but just make your own videos for yourself. You know, highlight some key moments in your life, because someday you're going to want to remember that. You're going to want to go back to that. Or if you're in a point in your life where you're struggling with something, you're going to want to go back to that. And if anything, if you have children or other loved ones, they're going to want to watch those experiences too. And it's one thing to see a picture, it's another to see the video and then see how enthusiastic you were going through that experience. So anyway, this drive's been going good. You know, it's long. I'm kind of tired, but I'm just spending a lot of time rethinking everything that I went through, and it's pretty exciting. So looks like traffic is finally starting to move again. I'm actually going over 40 miles an hour. Oh, here's some brake lights, so maybe that's short-lived. Anyway, we'll be home hopefully within 5-6 hours, something like that. Get to sleep in my own bed tonight and see my dogs, and yeah, see home. I miss it. All right, guys, we'll catch up to you probably when we get closer to home. I'm gonna probably do something on unpacking this craziness right now. So I gotta start thinking of some more ideas on how to redo things for my next trip. So I've shared this with a lot of friends, and I will send out messages individually. I am not retiring, essentially, but I am looking to transition to something else in my life that gives me more flexibility and free time. So I encourage any of my friends that are watching this, if you're interested in some adventure, and even if it's, hey, you got to use your vacation time once a week or once a year, that's perfectly fine. But all you need is a tent and a way to store some food and a car that can kind of get places, because I'd love to do some adventures with some groups. And even if it's just a few of us and we want to tackle like a long weekend and go somewhere and just try experiencing some cool things, hey, I'm definitely up for it. So think about, like I said before, those life puzzle pieces. We want to start making those amazing pieces, and in the end, we want that amazing puzzle. All right, guys, we'll catch up to you soon.